What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Flip the Odds. This is episode 5 with my boy Noah. This is Nathan's brother. Do you want to introduce yourself? No.
Hey guys, Noah. Just graduated from UC Davis. Played basketball with Ethan, and yeah, I'm Nathan's brother. Who was a few episodes ago.
He's a hard carry in basketball. This guy's like, whenever you play with him, you don't have to do anything. Let's just say that. Big Packers fan, I believe, right? So,
Sure.
yep, we're going to hop into the NFL first. First, with my recap from last week. Week 8 was my best week so far in terms of, individual predictions. I went 11 wins, 4 losses. I did put the Giants would beat the Seahawks, but I accidentally put the Seahawks winning last week on the actual screen. So I'm going to take that one as the fourth L. So all time, I'm 43 wins, 32 losses. Not too bad now. And as for the locks, we went 2-1 again. I didn't expect Cincy to lose. It was a pretty weird game last night. But so 2-1 again. So all time for my locks, we are 10-8. Still got to improve in that category, and I think this week will help it a lot, just because of some of the matchups that we have. And with that being said, I kind of want to hop right into it. Week 9 has a lot of interesting games in my opinion. We can bounce back and forth. I'll say a lock, you say a lock, and we can go from there. You cool with that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Alrighty, so my locks. My first one is Thursday Night Football. I think the Eagles beat the Texans. They're heavy favorites. I think it's like minus 750 right now. I don't personally. I don't think the Eagles are that team. Like, I think they're very, very good. They're a top 5 team, but they have such an easy schedule, so it's hard to not take them every week. I mean, I think they go 9-0 here. So you have any? I mean, especially with how well Jalen Hurts is playing, and AJ Brown last week catching 3 touchdowns. It's hard to defend that stuff.
Yeah, they've been clicking for
Mhm.
sure. But I agree. The schedule's been kind of soft, but I mean at the same time, like you got to win them. So,
Facts,
but
facts.
yeah, I see them winning over the Texans. I wonder if they'll cover. I think it's like minus 13 and a half or something like that. I think.
That is interesting. Yeah, usually for the loss, I just put money lines, but the
Okay.
spread. I mean, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take the spread just because it's a lot.
Yeah, I,
But
I I agree. That's a huge.
yeah.
The same with like the Bills this week,
Hmm.
but I have a lock. I have Miami over Chicago. Um, I think Miami's been like been a little up and down, but when Tua's been healthy and he's played the whole game, they've looked pretty good. Been able to manage it down the stretch, and I think like especially Waddle and Hill will wreak havoc on the Bears secondary. They have young safeties. Their corners are tough. I feel like Miami takes Chicago to town, and I hope Chicago loses because you
Yep.
know I'm a Packers fan.
I mean, as like knowing you're a Packers fan, I don't think you have anything to worry about with the Bears. Like they don't look good in my opinion. I've said it time and time again. I don't think Justin Fields is good enough to lead that team anywhere. Um,
Yeah, especially without weapons.
yeah. So my second lock is actually the same. I have the Dolphins beating the Bears. I don't really. I'm surprised they're only favored at minus 200. I
I
think
know.
it's very, very convincing. I would take that early if anybody does place that stuff. The money line is looking convincing. You have Tua playing very well at this point, and Tyreek seems like he can get open against anyone.
Yep.
So I mean, they could. We'll talk about it later. They made a couple trades today that obviously feed into it.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, so right after that, I go into Buffalo beating the Jets at minus 600. I know the Jets are a much better team than everybody thought this year, but you're going against the number one offense in the entire NFL. So Josh Allen's playing out of his mind. He's actually targeting Diggs a ton this year. Um, and they just got another really good pickup. They got Naeem Hines. I think it's a dub for them. And I mean, you're losing Zach Moss, so I think Hines is a much better upgrade. Um,
yeah,
and I don't think Zach Wilson and the Jets are quite there yet to even put up a fight. To be honest with you.
yeah. No, I agree. So it's a pretty good lock.
Hmm.
Uh, my last lock is Green Bay over Detroit. I feel like Packers second half of that Bills game started to really figure things out a little bit. I mean, to the degree they can. I think they just pounded the run game, and I think going against Detroit, who if they keep that same game plan, Detroit won't be able to stop it. And Packers secondary has statistically been like number one, and so I think like with the way the Lions throw the football, I think Green Bay takes Detroit, and they got to take it. I mean, it's like win or go home kind of situation right now. So my second lock is Green Bay over Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I love a lot of players on Detroit. I've always been high on Jared Goff. I think he's a great quarterback. I like Amon-Ra and DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams. I think they're a great offense, but you can never count yourself out against them. Like they're
Yeah.
willing to throw. So yeah, I mean, leading into my last lock, I have Baltimore beating New Orleans minus 115 next Monday, just because I'm with a full week's rest. Well, I guess over a week's rest since Baltimore played on Thursday. Pretty sure Mark Andrews will come back healthy. And with that being said, I think we kind of see how much better Lamar Jackson plays with Mark Andrews. It's
Yeah.
when Mark Andrews was out, it looked like the whole offense was struggling. And I think he's gonna start targeting him a little bit more. Even though I think the Saints are doing really well, with the whole Taysom Hill, we have they are surprising to say the least, right? Alvin Kamara scoring 3 touchdowns last week. Was it 3 or 4?
I think yeah, three.
3.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, I have Baltimore. And then before I go into all my picks, I want to do our upsets. So I know you took Arizona over Seattle. I was actually thinking Seattle over Arizona. So that was one of mine
Okay.
at plus
Yeah.
114. I think Seattle is playing very, very well. And Arizona, I feel like they're barely scraping by, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
I think Kyler Murray's doing okay. Like, obviously, D-Hop being back is huge for him. But, I think with Geno Smith playing the way he is, and everything's clicking for him. You wouldn't think this after Russell Wilson leaves, but it's working, and maybe they pull off
Yeah.
a dub here.
Yeah. No, that's true. I have I have New Orleans over Baltimore as a possible upset. I mean, this honestly, I was trying to look across the board. I feel like there's so many teams that like games were close and like I was like, I don't know what we choose here. And so, I mean, I watched that Raiders Saints game. I mean, we'll probably talk about it later. Raiders looked awful, but the New Orleans is suffocating on defense. And one thing, like Josh Jacobs have been absolutely like running the heck out of the ball like for the past number of weeks, and they really put a stop to that. And they had energy there flying around on defense. I think like if you're going to do that against Baltimore, obviously it's different with Lamar Jackson, the threat out of the pocket, like, and then getting loose. So I don't know. And with Mark Andrews coming back, that safety blanket's there for Lamar. But I have the Saints staying hot, possibly taking down Baltimore.
I like that. I mean, you can't ask for you have to ask for a good game on Monday Night Football. So I'm hoping that even though I said Baltimore, I think it'll be a good game. Hopefully Kamara shows up again. But yeah, I think it's pretty interesting just seeing like how many teams are doing surprisingly well this year. And I talked about this on episode 4, but we're seeing a lot of teams. Obviously, I think more teams are surprising than disappointing, right? I think we have a couple teams who are like, they should be doing better. Like I don't want to categorize Green Bay in there because everybody knew Aaron Rodgers had no one to throw it to. But by far, I'm putting the Bucks in there, the Chargers, like the Rams. These guys should be up there, but they're not. And instead of them, you have like the Giants, Seattle, New Orleans. Big change than what like you would normally think. But yeah, so I wanted to come up with another upset. I think this one is a lot of bias, but I think Indy beats New England this week, only because like Pittman needs to win. and obviously I've shown so much bias to him over the past like four episodes, like every episode, but he made a massive drop. I don't know if you saw it. Um, they're down 16-17 on their final drive. He gets a wide open throw to him, and he just drops it, and that could have like put them one play away from right into a scoring position, right? And I think, I mean, granted, I did put this before Naeem Hines got traded, but if Jonathan Taylor plays a little bit better, takes the majority of the snaps, you know, at some point their O line's gonna like lock up, and he's gonna be able to like explode like last year. So maybe it's
Yeah.
this week.
Yeah.
And then, do you have any more? Or that's it.
And I had Atlanta over the Chargers.
Gotcha.
Um, I think Atlanta's like been one of those teams that's like playing better than like I think everybody thought. Like I
Mhm.
think Mariota's figured it out a little bit. But I still like I don't know. I think this is more like the Chargers have been underwhelming. You got injuries to Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Herbert's. I mean, he's having to work through tough like options there. So I don't know. I mean, I think Atlanta after they eked out a win against the Carolina this past week, I think they can take down Chargers.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody, not even just people from LA, we're waiting for the Chargers to like click because
Yeah,
you have one of the most stacked offenses in the NFL, and I mean, Eckler's looking good, but once Herbert figures it out and that starts going, I think we'll see them come back. But I could see that happening. And yeah, so I will list. Wait, is that all you had for upsets?
yeah,
Okay,
there
I
you go.
will list my picks for every game real quick. Just go through them for the records that we have, and then we're gonna hop into our topics that we have ready for you guys today. So first, obviously, I took the Eagles over the Texans, and then on Sunday, I have the Bills over the Jets, the Colts over the Patriots, the Vikings over the Commanders, the Bengals beat the Panthers. This was hard for me to take because I think the Jags have a chance, but we'll go with the Raiders because I feel like Devontae has it like a bounce back week. Dolphins over the Bears. I actually think the Lions beat the Packers, but that's also, I feel like every week has to have some upsets. So, Chargers, I think they can hold their own against the Falcons. I think Seattle beats Seattle beats Arizona. The Bucks beat the Rams. The Chiefs beat the Titans, and then the Ravens beat the Saints. So we got a lot of buys this week, so not too many games. But yeah, that's what I got. And so to hop into our first topic, I want to talk about, what is going on with certain teams, certain players, and then overall, just like the NFL in general. So first off, I want to talk about the trade deadline that we have today, and what is your favorite trade? Who won the trade, and then who has lost the worst from the trade deadline?
So I think I mean uh, maybe everybody would think this, but the Dolphins I think are the biggest winner there in the trade deadline. Their defense has been struggling a little bit down the
Hmm.
stretch here. Adding Bradley Chubb, I think, really shore up that front four. I mean, and then I think they got Jeff Wilson too from the Niners, who like honestly, he's pretty solid for the Niners. I'm a little bit surprised they traded him. The Niners did just because with McCaffrey's injury tendencies, like if he goes down, you have pretty weak backfield. But I think Dolphins are the biggest winner there. Loser, I feel like the Packers lose and the Rams lose.
Hmm.
Two teams that like coming off of great years last year. Obviously, the Rams won the Super Bowl, but and then really early season struggles, just not looking like themselves on offense. Both could use a weapon of some sort, and like the Rams, like they just need somebody in the fourth quarter. Cooper Cup went down with injury on Sunday, so I think, and then the Packers just like wide receiver wise, you got injuries, and then you got just random guys running around out there. Like I would have loved to see them pick up somebody. So I think biggest losers, Packers and Rams, for not going and getting somebody at least.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think I would agree. I have like two semi winners. I think the big winner of the trade deadline so far is definitely Miami. They got rid of Chase Edmonds, whose contract was pretty hefty after signing him for a good amount this year, and you replace him with Jeff Wilson, who obviously they didn't value Chase Edmonds that much anymore. So you're getting a solid backup at that point, and I think my second winner I think is just because of the certain trade with the loser that I have. I think T.J. Hawkinson going to the Vikings like makes Detroit a big loser here because you're losing
Yeah.
such a weapon and he's only 25. Like
Yeah.
it's not like he's old and you're trying to get rid of him for new assets, right? Goff loved him. There's a
Yeah.
game where he had multiple TDs. He's coming off a really hot year last year. And you're giving him to the Vikings where they have so many like they have Dalvin Cook on offense. Like the barring Kirk Cousins cuz he's solid, right? You have Jay Jettas, Thielen, uh, KJ Osborne, I think, along with
Yeah.
Madison and Cook, right? They don't
Yeah.
need any more. And you're giving them like young talent, which I think they are taking a dub from
Yeah.
that. Obviously, I think they should have upped their defense because their defense is what I think is hard to watch every time I watch them play. Because their offense, they produce, which obviously it shows in their record. But yeah, that I
Yeah.
think Minnesota won that trade and the Lions lost that one. So as a fantasy owner of Amon-Ra St. Brown, it makes me a little happier because you don't have that option right there. So it's nice, but I think they lost that. And then I want to go into your reaction. I don't know if you saw, but CMC's total touchdown game. That was pretty impressive to me. I just wanted to get your reaction on that one.
Yeah. It was impressive. I watched that
Hmm.
game. He was really doing everything out there, and honestly, like you started to see, I think like how prolific of a football player he is. Like on the touchdown that he caught, like
Yeah,
he made that look so easy for a back, and you watch him like out of the, he was just the like safety blanket, and he like is holding out for Garoppolo, and then the fact that Garoppolo was able to get over to the third read there, and make a nice throw was pretty good. But like then the throwing touchdown, I mean, like it was a dime.
it
What can you
and
say? Like
that's what that one was really impressive. Honestly, like it wasn't an easy throw. Um,
yeah,
it's pretty far, and obviously I think the receiving one was the most impressive. But it showed that if he's healthy, I think the Niners are they're gonna be something to deal with because I don't think Jimmy G's like holding them back in any sense. I think he's good tier two, tier three quarterback. So you
yeah,
have everything on offense. You have Kittle, you have Debo, you have Ayuk, along with CMC now. If your defense holds up, they're looking like a really good team. Which I've never been too big a fan of the Niners, so it makes me a little angry, but yeah, can't really go wrong with it. And
yeah.
then
No, I agree.
I want to talk on Zeke versus Pollard because we heard so many people say like Pollard deserves a spot, and then they come out and the Cowboys say that Zeke still has his role when he comes back. What do you think? Who do you think deserves a start, and what do you think about it?
I was conflicted over this because I mean, you look at like track record, like Zeke, Zeke's kind of like earned that spot to a degree, but he's been in and out so much. And like, sure, when he's in, he's good, but I feel like he's a bit removed where from his most productive days. And Pollard's like the hot hand, so like I don't love the idea. So like I understood when Dak came back, he gets his spot. Like, yeah, Cooper Rush has had the hot hand. But I feel like at running back, it's a little bit different, especially with Zeke having been out. Pollard's been a workhorse, three down back. Like, and I think the biggest thing about Pollard here is he showed he can be a three down back. Like, I think that was the biggest knock is like, hey, is this a 1-2 guy like that you got to bring in and out? And so I'm a little bit surprised. I would like to see Pollard go and Zeke get some snaps to like ease back into it. I'm honestly not the hugest Zeke fan, so like maybe I just and watching Pollard run, he was hitting every cutback, like he looked really good. So I mean, I guess it depends what they're trying to do, but especially with Dak coming back from injury and trying to ease back, I feel like bringing two guys back and having Zeke new into the backfield, and then and Dak coming back, getting comfortable back again at quarterback is interesting move. But I mean, I guess you go back on track record and like seniority, sort
Mhm.
of. Maybe Zeke takes that. I don't know.
I agree. I like watching Pollard play. I'm looking at some of his games right here. Against the Giants, he has 13 carries for 105 yards. He had 14 last week for 131, 12 for 83 the week before against Detroit, and then 11 for 44. And then he has a week against the Rams where he's 8 carries for 86 yards. So he's very proficient with like what he's a good running back, right? And he's able
Yeah.
to make the most of his touches. But I think what one thing I saw that really pointed out why Zeke might be getting that job back is Pollard needs to learn how to run block or to block as a running back, right? If he becomes that good of a blocker where you can play him on plays you aren't running where you just need a quick block, then I think he's a very clear option. And it's not that Zeke isn't good; it's just Pollard's fitting in very well into the system, right? And he's able
Yeah.
to work very well with the O line, and I don't know. Like Zeke definitely could find another place elsewhere where he shines even more. But I'm leaning towards Pollard. I think he's showing a lot of like promise, and in the future, my prediction is sooner or later, uh, they go with Pollard. And then also kind of a little bit more like drama scene in the NFL, which you don't see too often. But what are your thoughts on Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore? I don't know if you got a chance to see the interview, but that was pretty funny to
Yeah.
me because I personally like Elijah Moore after last year. I think he had a really, really good year. But, and I've been questioning as well. Like sometimes you watch as a fan, you're like, why are these guys not getting touches, right? You expect Elijah Moore to be popping off more than, the stats that he is getting right now.
Yeah. I feel you, and I like when I saw it and I looked at it, I was like, dang, like because Elijah Moore I think is a weapon on that
Mm-hmm.
offense, and like I mean, he feels like he should get his, but I totally disagree with like calling your quarterback out in a presser like that is
Mm-hmm.
like I think it's not cool. Like your team's 5-3. It's one thing if this team was like 0-6 and
Right,
everybody's
right.
like this team's 5-3. Like, hey, they looking pretty decent. Like that's not the time to be like calling out your quarterback who's like you're doing enough to like win games and stuff. Like, hey, you got to find a way to make it work internally. Throwing your quarterback under the bus in a presser and stuff. Like, I think it just hurts you. Like it doesn't help Zach Wilson want to throw you the ball anymore. And I think like guys getting all like, and I don't know what happens in the locker room and like what the schemes looking like, but like Elijah Moore not getting the ball is not necessarily a Zach Wilson problem.
Right.
Totally,
It could be
like
play calls. Them.
yeah, like are you making Elijah Moore the first read? Like or is he, like there's so many factors that go into like a wide receiver getting the ball, in my opinion. And obviously, there's got to be chemistry. Like quarterback feels comfortable throwing him open and whatnot. But yeah, overall, like I thought it was pretty petty and like not the right way to go about voicing your concern.
Yeah. So I agree. I think he definitely shouldn't have called him out. For those who haven't seen the interview, what he said was, "quote I don't even know. I couldn't tell. I couldn't even tell you. I don't get the ball." Right. He says, "I don't know," and then close quotes. Right.
Yeah,
I think he deserves the ball. I think he's a very, very talented wide receiver. But at 5-3, as you said, probably not a good time. If you are 1-5, let's say, and you feel that your presence can change that record and make you a winning team, yeah, say something, or even just say it in like obviously he says it to the team if he's willing to say it in the media, right? But I don't know. I don't think Zach Wilson is as developed as we see, right? So he obviously doesn't go through every single one of his options, and maybe Elijah Moore is down the line, but yeah, I disagree with calling him out, but I obviously you understand the frustration. He's coming off a year where he played pretty well, and he's still young, so he still wants to prove himself, And I think he's coming off one target last week, which isn't ideal for someone who's still trying to prove himself. But there's always other ways to go about it, and I'll touch a little bit more on it later. But yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. And so more into the team aspect of it, since we're talking about that. RPO offense or run pass options are getting very, very common now. We see it with Nick Sirianni's offense at in Philadelphia, right? What do you think, and should
Mhm.
more teams adopt it?
I think it really depends on who you have at quarterback. And
Right.
I think like as the league gets more and more athletic, especially at the quarterback position, like you just look at college and they run that a lot.
Hmm.
I think like I think there's certain teams that should be using it way more. Like the Bears, it
Yeah.
boggles my mind why they're not using that. Like so I think like so many systems need to you gotta play to the strengths of the people you have. Like when you look at like the Ravens, like with Joe Flacco, right? You look at Joe Flacco offense versus Lamar Jackson offense, like John Harbaugh was absolutely willing to like revamp the offense to like make it work, use Lamar's athleticism. And I think so there's teams that it would work for, namely the Bears, that should use it. And I think like as you get some of these guys, especially younger guys that you want to be able to just somewhat use their legs, but also like just generally make a read in that scenario. I think it's good. I like it with like Jalen Hurts. I think it works so well for him.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, like I said, I think it's a case by case basis, depending on the athleticism of the quarterback you have. Because like if you got Tom Brady running the RPO,
No,
like
yeah.
you know,
Yeah, for sure. Like I think, the two names that stand out, you're not gonna have him or you're not gonna have like any very stiff quarter. You're not gonna have Aaron Rodgers running it, Um, but I'm looking at list of quarterbacks, and I feel like obviously I'm not gonna say Buffalo needs to change anything because they're very solid, right? And they use
yeah,
Josh Allen in a way where he can get rush yards if he needs on certain plays, but he's also very dependent on his arm. But I feel like Patrick Mahomes, he's got wheels. He could pick it up here and there. I think I agree. Justin Fields, Kyler Murray, but I think what it comes down to, and I think Mariota as well. But I think what it comes down to is Jalen Hurts is very, very good at making the decision recently. Like, and I think he's so good at it that teams aren't able to, like, they're not able to react fast enough. And
yeah,
once they get used to it, it'll be a little bit easier. I think the Eagles will start falling, but I think right now the only other guy you really see do it is Taysom Hill when he's in there. Um, so I think they're starting a trend for sure. I could see, teams like the Bucks who have Tom Brady. Maybe in next year's draft they go for a quarterback who is more mobile, test things out. And I don't blame them
yeah,
because of how successful the Eagles are making it look. But it intrigues me. I don't like watching it as a fan. I think
yeah,
most football fans, you want to see deep throws, you want to see big plays, right? So when you're consistently running it, or you have the option to run it, and then your quarterback runs, it's a little boring, but it wins games. Um, and then did you get to see Pete Carroll's penalty on that one play?
yeah.
Dude, that was
I
so
thought that was pretty
funny.
funny.
he,
The ref just running on the sideline and
uh,
takes him out.
dude, that reminds me of,
Yeah,
like, you ever see that video? I think the Rams posted it a long time ago where they have the get back coach for.
yeah,
Yeah, he's gonna need one. That was so funny,
yeah,
and like you could tell he was having fun with it because obviously I think they won the game at that point.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just thought it was worth putting in there. Pete Carroll's a great guy, so it's fun to see. And then also, I kind of hinted at this earlier, but the Lions and the Colts, right? They can't win games, and it's not because they are pretty bad right now. The Colts at least, but I think the Lions are solid. They can't hold on to their wins, right?
Yep.
So many times this year where it's weird for the Colts, like they ended up tying that one, but they came back from that one, right? But they can't close out the wins. Like, I was looking at the Lions game this weekend at halftime, and I was talking to my brother. I was like, you know, yeah, the Lions got them. That's surprising, right? And he goes,
Yeah.
nah. My brother said, nah. Like, I think Miami will come back. I was like, no way. And then I actually thought, I was like, it's the Lions. Like, there's actually a chance. And they scored 0, I think, in the second half, right? Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? Like, do you think it's late game play calling, or their players just choke, or what? I mean, okay, for the Colts,
Yeah.
they have a young roster, right? That's different. The Lions, you have experienced quarterback with some pretty good players.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with play call and like I think in the Lions position, a lot of it has to do with like refusal to like to establish the ground game late in games. Like you and it's annoying because they have Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift.
Mhm.
And if you're gonna close out games, you got to do it on the ground, right? Like
Yeah.
that's how you turn clock. And I think they have a lot of possessions that like late in game they fizzle out. I mean, there's a lot that like makes me think like, and then their defense gives up big chunk yardage like late in games too, where one of my biggest like pet peeves is late in game when teams play like way too soft of like prevent coverage. Like I
Mhm.
get you don't want the big play, but the thing is like you're leaving seams open, and if you have a smart enough quarterback, like you give up big chunk yardage, and it allows for like flow on offense. Like your defense has been stopping them. Why are you gonna like back off 10 yards
Right.
and give them those easy underneath? Like I think that has something to do with it too. Like getting into it's one thing if it's like third and 25 and like late in game and all they need a touchdown, so you're gonna back off. But like we're talking like first and 10 and you're up like 18. Like yeah, it's three scores, but like especially when you're playing like Tyreek and Waddle, like
Hmm.
and you
Those
give
guys can
Tua
do anything.
yeah, and you give Tua like the ability to get in rhythm. Like these guys are too good to. They're gonna give. They're gonna take what you give them. And so like I think it's a mixture. Like you got to be able to run the clock out, but also like you got to continue to play hard nosed defense. I mean, I still think there's an aspect of choking. Like whenever I watch the Falcons, like dude, I
Mm.
swear they're cursed. Like
Yeah.
you think like they cannot blow this lead, and then that PJ Walker throw, like
That was crazy.
how did your guy let DJ Moore just like run straight by you? You know, like there's like aspects of it where I just think like some teams just are
Can you
cursed, and the
believe?
Lions,
Can you believe though they didn't win that
yeah,
off the PAT?
it's
No
so bad.
way. DJ
Yeah,
like PJ Walker to DJ Moore for that far. You
yeah,
that's a prayer you're throwing up, and then send the game to OT because you can't hit a field goal.
and
Nah.
then they couldn't hit a field goal in OT
Yeah.
to win it either. Like they had two opportunities, and I mean DJ Moore getting that unsportsmanlike conduct, taking the
Hmm.
helmet off and stuff was unfortunate. I think like I mean he's got to know better than that.
Right.
And so like that PAT like 48-yard PAT that's
Yeah.
tough. But then in OT it was a 31-yard field goal. Like I mean you can't ask for anything better for the win too.
Yeah.
So
True.
yeah, I don't know. There's teams that just seem to, and Lions are one of them. They just can't close. And I think it gets in guys' heads too. Like when you get up and you feel like you're still looking over your shoulder
It's the
because of
nerves.
what's
The
happened
nerves
in
get to
previous
you.
week. Yeah, nerves get to you, and you give up big plays. You're not firm in like establishing that run game. You think,
Hmm.
hey, we got to like stick to throwing the ball. And Jared Goff's good, but I mean, yeah,
He's got room to improve for sure.
for sure.
And then last topic before we head into our power rankings and my move on, and then we move on to fantasy. I want to see what the hell were the Raiders doing. 0 points. You have Derek Carr, Devontae Adams. Obviously, you don't have Jaren Waller this week. Josh Jacobs has been playing out of his mind. What I don't know. Derek Carr. I'll break it down for you. 15 for 26 for 101 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 interception. Devontae Adams, your star receiver that everybody wanted to see come, right? One
Mhm.
reception on 5 targets for 3 yards. The dude had 3 yards. That has to be the most depressing game I've ever seen. Which obviously leads me into thinking they come back and they go crazy this week, right? But I don't. It was a very boring game to watch. Every time I checked my phone, the Saints had the ball back.
Yep.
What
Yeah,
did you think?
I was watching it, and it felt like every first down play, the Raiders could not get positive yards. Like it was second and third and long the entire game. They went three and out a lot. There's a bad interception. Like honestly, that's embarrassing. Like
Yeah.
the Saints are like okay, like in their defense is pretty decent, but like I mean, come on. Especially like Devontae getting 3 yards. He only got targeted 5 times too. Like it's uh, like that's one of those games that you want to say like, hey, just throw it away and move on. But
Hmm.
like that was one that the Raiders like if they wanted to like stay in it this season, like that was when they had to win,
Yeah.
and it was a very winnable, like going into it, winnable game. And you don't even put a point on the board. Like I think it's a lot of it is the Saints like sold out to stop the run, and they blitzed Carr a lot.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it's just like he wasn't comfortable taking the hot routes or what, but like, dude, it was pretty miserable to watch. That was one of the games on Sunday that I thought might be a good game, and it
I
was
thought
terrible.
I thought that one had potential to be a shootout because
Yeah,
I didn't think the Raiders had a very good defense. I don't think New Orleans is that good. Raiders, you're putting points up on the board. You put 30 points on the Broncos, right? And
yeah,
we have a solid defense. The defense is the only thing winning us games right now. And you can't put points up against the Saints after you have Josh Jacobs playing the way he has. So obviously, like they've read that and they're like, okay, you're gonna come out, you're gonna try to establish Josh Jacobs, and they just didn't allow him to, which was props to the Saints, but
yeah.
yeah. So I think before fantasy football, let's list out our top 10 power rankings. For me, top three still stay the same. I think I'm not sure if I moved Philly up one. I have the Bills, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Ravens somehow are still there. I still believe in them. Um, and then we have the Bengals coming off of a terrible loss. The Vikings, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Niners, and then the Giants. So the notable things for mine were the Buccaneers and the Chargers fell off the top 10. And I think it's very reasonable, and I don't think any of mine are like super hot takes besides the Bengals and the Ravens still staying quite high. I think the Bengals, the real issue is their O line, and they had performed pretty well the past 2 weeks, week 6 and 7, but once week 8 hit, the Browns tore them apart. So how about you?
So I have top three: Eagles, Bills, Chiefs, and then Cowboys at four, Vikings at five, Niners at six, Ravens, Seahawks, Titans, and Giants. So I think, I mean, honestly, yeah, I put Eagles at one. I feel like, yes, their schedule's been somewhat easy, but they continue to beat the teams in front of them. They look good. I mean, and only time will tell whether they really deserve that one spot. Bills and Chiefs, I mean, I don't think that's really needs explaining. Cowboys, like, I think they're playing good football with the team they have, and they still have a lot like to give on the table. I hate the Cowboys, but like you look at the offense that they have, and if Pollard can run the way he can, and if Zeke gets back and you create some sort of 1-2 punch there in the ground game, and then you got a lot of weapons, I think Cowboys have left some to be desired, and they still have that to pick up with time to warm up in the season. Vikings at five, offense looks great. We'll see. Then Niners at six. That's a jump from where I had them in my mind earlier in the season. I think like with the trade for Christian McCaffrey, Garoppolo looks like he feels more comfortable with the offense right now. They look really good, and their defense I think is pretty solid. Ravens, good team. Seahawks jumped. I think like if Geno Smith continues to play like he is, which I've been waiting every week for him to fall off, and he hasn't. Still hasn't written back.
Yeah.
So Titans at nine. I feel like Titans are always up there every year, but never somebody that actually convinces me they're like gonna compete for a Super Bowl. But
I know
still a good
Malik
team.
Willis was so bad.
Yeah.
Like that
And then
was.
Giants at.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I just have Giants at 10. But no, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was if if not for Derrick Henry. Oh my God, that like
Yeah.
every time he threw the ball, it's like it's probably out. It's probably it was a little iffy, but yeah, I
Yeah.
like your list. It's I like when lists are not the same. Pure meaning behind that is that there's competition in the league, right? If
Oh,
everybody's
yeah.
lists are so similar, then everybody wants to watch the same teams. But now everybody got a team to watch, and most games will therefore be interesting. But
Yeah.
moving on to fantasy football, I always do this little segment where I want to ask three players, um, off the top of your head, are they reliable or not reliable? And usually these are players coming off of very good weeks, and we want to see in the future. What do you think? So first, I have Rondale Moore.
Rondale Moore. had a great week. I think, to be fair, I think he's reliable. I don't know, depending on where you have him, whether that's wide receiver two or a flex. Like, I think honestly, with DeAndre Hopkins coming back, I think that actually Rondale Moore will get more catches because DeAndre Hopkins is gonna attract safety help,
Right,
and
right.
Rondale Moore as a slot receiver, like I think Kyler Murray's gonna find him more. Even feels counterintuitive to think like, hey, you got a guy that's like um, uh, gonna lose touches to a superior receiver, but when you got a slot receiver like him that's gonna like he'll get open, I feel like he's reliable
I
in
have
the
to
short
agree.
term at least. So
I think I have the exact same thing written down. I think he gets more touches because DeAndre Hopkins sucks up so much attention on defense, and Kyler Murray loves that short dump off the screen, right? And usually it's
yep,
to Rondale Moore. So I think he's reliable. Someone I don't think is reliable is here Deontay Foreman. You
yeah.
know,
I don't see him as reliable, and I think what's his name? Is that
Hubbard.
Chubb
Yeah,
Chubb Hubbard?
yeah.
Yeah, coming back. I don't see Foreman getting the same workload
Hmm.
he did. So yeah, I would agree. I that's a not reliable to me.
Right. And lastly, DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, I feel like hit and miss. Like it
Hmm.
depends. Like he's a guy that like I want to say reliable, but also like so dependent on quarterback play. Like PJ Walker's looked pretty good and throwing some balls well. Like if anybody's their home run hitter, like it's gonna be DJ Moore. So like if I want to say reliable, but like with the offense he's in, like it feels like any given week they could just like only score 3 points and like so
100%.
uh, it's that's tough. I want to say reliable because I think DJ Moore, like trusting the fact like his athleticism getting open, like
Hmm.
he's got to get some catches, maybe especially in a PPR league where
Yeah.
he gets some points off of him. That's a reliable.
I have to disagree. I say unreliable. Only pure reason I don't think PJ Walker is there yet. In any other
Okay.
offense with any other quarterback, maybe not any, but with a better quarterback, I think he's very reliable because, again, of that athleticism that he has. But I
Yeah.
don't think PJ Walker is there yet. Maybe down the line, he made some very nice throws. We saw that deep one, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think he's quite there yet. And I know you have some good ones for this week as for pickups and the sleepers. So I want to go through the pickups to aim for right now. My first one, I said I'd touch on it later. Here it is. I think Elijah Moore. Only because I feel, this is kind of like a pickup and a start. Because I think Elijah Moore will, if he gets touches, it'll be this week. Only because win or lose, Zach Wilson will target him because of being called out, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
I'm mainly in half PPR leagues because I don't like full PPR, but in PPR leagues, he'll get, I want to say, 5 points already off touches. So what he makes
Yeah.
off of that will be extra. And then,
No, that's good.
sorry to break it down, last week I nailed Tyler Algier, and my buddy CJ, he nailed Greg Dulcich. So very, very good ones. We're hoping for some good ones this week as well. So who's your first?
I got Rondell Moore. I didn't look at percentage of how he's rostered,
Mhm.
but he's one of those guys that like I think people might drop him seeing DeAndre Hopkins come back, might have dropped like or he's available. Like I feel like he's one of those guys we talked through like, hey, he's reliable. I think he'll get more touches down the line of the season. And Kyler's got to find somebody. And if they're gonna run that short screens to Rondell Moore, I feel like that's a good pickup. Um, and then I got Josh Palmer for the Chargers. This is like maybe deep waiver wire, but with Mike Williams out on injury, I think like Herbert's got to find somebody. And so like, you're looking for maybe a flex. Uh, Possibly Josh Palmer fits in there for picking up off the waiver wire.
Gotcha. Cool, cool. My second one is Naeem Hines. I didn't have a second one for wire pickups this week because so many people are doing well that typically are already on rosters.
Yeah.
But Naeem Hines being moved to an offense that's very pass heavy, and given he's a very good pass catching running back, will fit in very well. I think I don't know. I was scared to say he's a sleeper to start, so I'm just gonna say pick him up on the waivers because obviously this week he's coming into a new offense. They're probably gonna stick with Singletary for now, But in the future, I think Hines could play a very big role in that offense. And then, do you have any more? Or is that yours?
No, yeah, it's on my waiver pickup.
Sounds good. And then, so sleepers to start this week. I have Tyler Boyd one, and then only because he got 5 targets and the only and a TD this week. I want to say, um, did he? I think he did, right?
Not sure.
Okay, well, either way, I think Tyler Boyd is a good wide receiver 2 option, and he's not on that many rosters, so I'd pick him up and start him because you have Jamar Chase out for 3-4 more weeks, and
Yeah.
you can't expect Joe Burrow to be like what he just played every week. He's very, very productive on the offense, and they trust the pass, so he's gonna be there, I think. Do you have one?
Yeah, I have Hunter Renfro. I think, this week, I think the Raiders are going to come out hot, and I feel like one of those things where if you can't establish the run, you're going to have to establish a short pass game, so Renfro is one of those guys you put in the slot and really gets open. That's guy I think maybe a sleeper to start there. Renfro, hoping the Raiders bounce back here. He's gonna have to distribute the ball, so get that short pass game going with Renfro.
Gotcha. And then my last sleeper to start this week is Josh Palmer, the wide receiver on the Chargers. You kind of touched on it already. It's going to have to be someone picking up Mike Williams' slack. With the wide receiver 1 duties that that Keenan Allen has, he's going to be attracting a lot of attention. So I guess you could kind of put Josh Palmer slash Gerald Everett because, I think both of them have to pick up the slack. It's not going to be able to throw it to Eckler every down or Keenan Allen deep. So I think these guys are pretty solid starts. And then,
Yeah,
do you have one more, or is that it?
yeah. I have James Robinson
Oh, nice.
for the Jets. I think looking at the way that the Packers ran the ball against the Bills last week, like I think the Jets got to establish some sort of ground game like that if they want to open up the passing at all. So, and the way that the Bills run their defense, I noticed this against the Packers. They'll sit 2 high safeties, and they like even with the Packers pounding the ball inside, they still would keep 2 high safeties. And I know it's probably thinking about Rodgers, like they knew if they bring those guys down in the box, Rodgers is going to audible something to go deep, but. I mean, if the Bills keep doing that, I think like with a decent running back and offensive line, the Jets could pound the ground game this week with James Robinson. So
Very nice, very nice. And then I didn't tell you about this because I don't tell the guest right away. But I always do rapid fire player versus player comparisons just so
okay.
one word, I guess 2 this time. You tell me who you like between the 2 comparisons. I already did a running back, I did a wide receiver, and I did a quarterback last time. This time, especially after this week, I thought it was very fitting to do quarterback and wide receiver slash tight end duos.
Okay.
Mainly because I really acknowledged how good Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown were together. Because I got smacked in fantasy because of that. Anyways, so Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown, and then I'm gonna tell you who they're going up against, and you tell me who you like better.
Okay.
All right, so first, Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown against Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
I'm taking Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs.
Me as well.
That's an unstoppable duo there.
Burrow and Chase.
Burrow and Chase. I feel like thinking last year too. I got to say Burrow and Chase. Like I feel like that's the ceiling's so high. The way Burrow can throw the ball and Chase can really get open too. They anticipate. They got chemistry. Probably take Burrow and Chase there.
Agreed. Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews.
I'll take Hurts and AJ Brown. I feel like Mark Andrews is really like a safety blanket guy for Lamar. I mean, he opens up the game for him, but like thinking about AJ Brown opening up deep threat for Jalen Hurts is probably better there.
Gotcha. Mahomes, Kelsey.
probably Mahomes Kelsey. I mean, that's like dynamic duo. Like
Yep.
they get it done. They get it done in the red zone so prolifically. They know each other so well. It's a wave of a hand at the line of scrimmage for Kelsey to do what he wants, kind of thing. So, I mean, if I'm in the red zone, that's like two of the guys I want. So I gotta go Mahomes Kelsey.
All right. Tua, Tyreek Hill.
Uh, man, probably Tua Tyreek too. Again, thing is like they've been so consistently good. Like I thought, to be fair, like I think this is showing how good Tyreek is. Like the way he can get open, and he's not just a deep threat guy. And Tua showed he can throw the ball deep too. So, I mean, looking at the amount of times Tyreek is over 100 yards, like Tua and Tyreek are going off. So,
All right. Three more. Derek Carr, Devontae Adams.
I'm gonna go with Jalen and Brown because Devontae Adams is like one of my favorite players, but Derek Carr just like sometimes the boneheaded plays and just like he doesn't read things the way Devontae reads it, and like I think Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown are better.
Stafford and Cup.
Whew. Stafford, I gotta take Stafford and Cup. Cup's somehow always open,
Yep,
finds the holes in the zone. It's like he's so smart, and Stafford knows how to find him. So.
If Stafford's throwing the ball, it's usually to Cup. And then the last two we got, or I guess last one, Kyler Murray and D Hop.
I'm gonna take Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown. Just I like D Hop, but I feel like Kyler's a little inconsistent with his ability to get D Hop the ball. Some questionable decisions there. So.
Sounds good. And then I will talk about my picks of the week for PrizePicks sportsbooks in general.
All right.
And then we'll hop into the MLB and NBA. So week 6, I went 0 for 5. Week 7, I went 3 for 3. Week 8, last week, I went 2 for 3. Very close one. Josh Jacobs did miss that, which obviously nobody expected them to put 0 points on the board. But it was all right. 2 for 3 is not bad. This week, I have 3 more, and we're going to stick with the trend that we have for the last 2 weeks. Derrick Henry over 90.5 rush yards. He went up last week to 100 and down this week to 90. Obviously, it's because of Kansas City's defense. They barely allow over 90, or I think they allow 92, if I want to say. But Derrick Henry runs the offense for the Titans. They haven't gone against a defense or an offense where it's literally only running. Yeah. When Malik Willis threw, you can expect it to be 3 and out, right? It's Derrick Henry and Dontrell Hilliard the entire time. So I think 90 is doable for him. And if he continues on the pace he's going on, it should be light. DeAndre Hopkins over 82.5 receiving yards. I think is pretty low, to be honest. In both games this year, he's had 13 and 14 targets. And in each one, he went 10 for 14 and 12 for 13, respectively. And hit over 100 each game, yardage-wise, right? On top of this, Seattle's defense is a bottom 10 defense. In terms of yardage allowed to receivers, they allow around 230 or over, right? So as a wide receiver 1, he'll get a good chunk. And with that point, I agree that Rondale Moore is a good start this week. And then lastly, keeping with the wide receivers, I have Justin Jefferson over 90.5 yards. We've seen time and time again, he always gets his yardage in no matter what. He gets his receptions, he gets everything. So he's coming off a very, very slow week. He's coming off 8 targets. And he hit it, right? He was not playing, not that he wasn't playing his best. He just wasn't getting looked at as much as he usually does, right? Washington defense isn't bad. They're not good though. It's like, to be fair, and I think Cousins loves looking his way, right? So he'll get the ball no matter what. It's just a matter of when and how far the targets are. So I think Justin Jefferson's a pretty good play. I like these 3. I'll put it right here, and that's usually what we're gonna go with this week. I will post on my other social media, so on TikTok, the Thursday night football game, Sunday night football, and Monday night ones. So I already have a play that I like for Thursday night, and you guys can find it in the description. But moving on to the MLB. So we have game 3 tonight. It got postponed till today. But prior to all of this, I wanted to see your opinions on Faber Valdez and his cheating allegations. I don't know where you stand in the MLB scene, like, who you don't like. Do you think the Astros cheated before? Um, no matter what, do you think he cheated?
I so I'm a Giants fan,
Hmm.
and an adamant Astros hater. But when I watched it, um, I I think it's an overreaction, and like it if he's using sticky stuff, then I mean, sure, but he gets checked after every inning. He's reaching around his wrist, which definitely gets touched. And the way that the Phillies haven't, like even the Phillies manager was not hot on the idea that like when he tried to get baited with a question, he's like, dude, the umpires check him after every inning. So I I don't think he's cheating. I think he's been dominant.
Hmm.
It is interesting the way that the Phillies pitching staff gets spin rates going up
Yeah.
like crazy. Like when Charlie Morton was there, man, like his spin rate on that curveball went crazy. Like so, it's interesting, but like I don't think Valdez is cheating necessarily. I get people's concern and hatred of the Astros. I don't like the Astros either, but I have a hard time thinking he is.
Yeah.
But
Personally, I I don't like the Astros either. I'm very much an Astros hater. Um, it looks sus to me, right? Just watching the video, obviously that looks sus. He's consistently wiping it under where his glove would be, and then he's pushing it onto the ball so hard. But I mean, all pitchers do that, right? Where they're like molding the ball and stuff. But the thing that was most interesting to me was when he was coming up to get checked. Everybody shows that video of him wiping it off, right? I mean,
yeah,
it as if there is something. I don't know. I don't have a stance. I know he's had a great year, so like you don't want to take anything from him, but if you're Valdez, like, and you're not, you just know that you pitched one hell of a game because
yeah.
they're scared, right? Um, but yeah, I mean it was a great game from him. Before we hop into your predictions for tonight's game and tomorrow's or game four, what do you think about? Obviously, you said you're a Giants fan. What do you think about the Dodgers maybe getting Judge?
Um, I might just pack up and not watch baseball again. No, I mean it doesn't surprise me. The Dodgers are always in talks for
Right.
for everybody. To be honest, they got money for everybody. There's no salary cap. I don't. I feel like I don't see that happening, but it doesn't. Like if it did happen, honestly, it would be like the worst thing in the world because that lineup's already an all-star lineup, and I'd be surprised though, trying to see where he fits in that outfield, knowing Mookie's pretty regular and right. I mean, I don't know if they'd put Judge in right because Judge can play some center, but I don't think he's the most prolific center fielder. And when you got Bellinger out there in center, then usually they like to use left for their platoon guys with Trace Thompson and stuff. So, but I mean, at the same time, like if you can get a big bat, you get a big bat, and so
Right.
like, uh,
You would never turn that down. I was talking
no,
to
so
CJ who I had on last week, and they said that they would move Mookie to second, which obviously he can run that.
yeah,
Or he'd be in the infield no matter what. But obviously, I think it's crazy because the Dodgers should be here. Like they should be in the World Series right now with the lineup they have.
oh
It's
yeah,
very surprising that they're not, and the fact that they lost only makes me think that there's a higher chance they get them because they'll do anything. They got the money. Um,
yep,
you're basically watching an All Star game. Every time you watch them play,
yeah,
because who is in there who's not solid? Like you have people who have off games, but Jesus, their pitching is good too. It's amazing.
yeah.
But yeah, so I wanna ask because I had my prediction. I know CJ had his. I think the Phillies win. In general, I had them winning since last round. Obviously, three predictions ago, I was very, very bad. But when it came down to four teams, I chose the Phillies, and I still think they'll win it. I think I said six, but how far do you think they can push it if you don't think they can win it?
To be fair, so I think if Phillies are gonna win, they got to do it in six.
Hmm.
If it goes to a game seven, I feel like it becomes tough. But I want Philly to win it, and I think Philly can win it. Like, so these next few games are like the most crucial games in my opinion. Like games 4-5. So wait, no, 3-4 are going to be huge because now with it getting pushed off, I think it works in the Phillies' advantage. If they can win tonight, then you got no, sorry, three. Yeah, it's 3-4-5, right?
Yeah, right now we have three tonight.
So yeah, three tonight. 3-4-5, like in Philly, fans are gonna be crazy, and I feel like that offense. If we're going offense against offense, like the Astros are really good, but the Phillies are just hot. Like,
Yeah.
and they make use of every situation. They really remind me of like the Giants in that 3 and 5 years where they grind out, they get guys on base, they get them in, and they hit the long ball when they need it. And so I really want the Phillies to win. I think they got to do it in 6. They got to take 2. They got to take 2 out of 3, and I think they could be poised to do it because they'll have Aaron Nola throw for them. Now that with the delay, I think Nola can throw game 5 because 4 will be Ranger Suarez. So
Suarez is pitching tonight.
Oh, Suarez, sorry.
I want to say he's pitching tonight.
Yeah, Ranger Suarez is pitching
right?
tonight. Yes, and then Nola would pitch game 4. And then sorry, for some reason I was mixing up my games. But yes, Suarez pitching tonight. And then I think Nola, they could throw Nola in game 4 instead of game 5. So then you avoid the Syndergaard issue. Like, I think Syndergaard would pitch game 5 probably unless he got used in one of those 2.
No, yeah. So what it's looking like right now is today you have Suarez, tomorrow you have Nola going up against Christian Javier, and obviously it would probably be Verlander 6.
Yep.
Or I mean 5.
5.
And then I don't know. You want to have Syndergaard there, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so how I look at it, like you get Nola in a game early. If you can win tonight with Suarez, who's been pretty decent, and then you get Nola game 5, you give yourself a good chance to hopefully win that game. Although Astros whacked him around game 1, and then seeing him for the second time, I don't know. I really think this is an offense prevails, and the Phillies got to get to him early because the Astros bullpen is so stacked. Like you get late in game, and they have some different weapon to get you. So I think Phillies win in 6 because that's what my heart wants. But
I think that's what everybody wants.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough. It really. I think if the Phillies can go and win tonight with Suarez on the mound, they put themselves in a really good position with Nola in game 4. So we'll see.
I feel like the only part of me that can live with the fact that there's a chance that the Astros win is because everybody wants Dusty Baker to win.
Yeah.
Right. Like if they win, good for him. Right. And I see like this one guy put like freaking millions on the Astros place, like 7-year-old, Mattress Mac.
Yeah,
the guy's so funny. Like I just watched him. I think it's fun. I think they win in 6 as well, but also very much a want over what I think will happen.
Sure.
And so moving into the NBA, a couple questions, and I don't want to take up too much of your time. So, who is your sleeper team? This is a question I've been asking everybody this year. I'll give you examples. I just want to see who everybody thinks isn't good but could do well, right? So my answer was Detroit. Your brother answered Sacramento, obviously. And I got a Atlanta answer. So what do you think?
All right. I mean, as a Kings fan, I gotta say Sacramento is a team that like started a little slow, but the last 2 games have really picked it up. Fox has started out so great. It's not like I see them as a title contender, but it's funny because at the beginning of the season, if the season was day 1, I would have told you the Jazz, and I think it would but now they are they're 6-2, I think, and so it's not really, they're not exactly like a sleeper team necessarily, but I think they still are because I think they will fall off a little bit, but like they're a team that I think everybody kind of counted out after trading away Mitchell and Gobert, but they got a lot of pieces that are pretty good and a lot of draft capital coming. But probably Kings because again, that's what my heart says. But also like I feel like they really have the pieces to like get it done. They gotta just get over that hump. In a tough Western Conference. So
Gotcha, gotcha. Very nice. And then thoughts on Steve Nash being fired and potentially being replaced by Ime Udoka, right? I just saw earlier today that they were thinking about it, and I saw that right now the Nets GM denies they are set on hiring him after his suspension. What do you think?
yeah, so I think firing Steve Nash is the right move. I love Steve Nash. He's one of my favorite basketball players of all time. But like that Nets team has so much greater potential. And they just like, and I don't know if it's just defensively they look bad. They run weird sets on offense that doesn't play to the strengths of the scores that they have, like outside of Durant and Irving. So I think it's a good move. Hiring Ime Udoka would be interesting. When I saw that headline, I kind of chuckled because it's very interesting. But yeah, I saw the GM denying it. He had this look on his face like he just didn't want to. Like I think they will end up firing. They probably would, and I think like all the allegations and weirdness aside, like Ime Udoka is like proved he's a good NBA coach, and like
Yeah.
I think he
They were
in a certain
successful
sense
with him.
like yeah, like I think he deserves the second chance. I don't want to say he totally does because like who knows if all this stuff is true and
Right.
what was going on. But like from a coaching standpoint, like I think it's a really good move if that's who they do hire.
Yeah. And lastly, before I get to your MVP prediction for the year, obviously way too early prediction, what are your thoughts on Miles Turner saying the Lakers should trade for him? Do you think they should? Shouldn't? What's your thoughts?
I thought honestly it was like one of the funniest ways to like request a trade.
Yeah.
Like it was so weird. I
Like, what are
think
you
like
saying about Indiana right now?
yeah, exactly. And I think like it does amaze me like that the Lakers didn't add any shoot. Like if they took Miles Turner, you got to package him with Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's been playing really well this year, knocking down threes. Like you need a 3-point shooter, and like I don't want to see the Lakers succeed. So like I wouldn't like to see them trade for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield because I think it would help them
Right.
as a team. It'd be interesting to say the least, but I thought it was pretty funny the way he threw that out there, like with a direct team and everything. Like, hey, the Lakers could really use help. It kind of sucks because like so I like the Pacers now. Tyrese Halliburton was one of my favorite guys on the Kings, and him being traded was crushing. But I follow the Pacers. I feel like they have a lot of young talent, and it would be tough for them to see them like trade away too much. But in the context of just trade wise, like that, I think it would be depending. I struggle with what the Lakers would have to give though.
Yeah.
For that, do the Lakers have a first round pick this next year? I know they didn't have one this last year, but
I'm not too sure. But yeah,
like,
they would have to come up with like coughing up with something decent, right?
yeah, because roster wise, they don't have anything. Like player wise, I don't think there's anything that the Pacers would say, oh yeah, like So
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know.
And then actually before your MVP pick, I just remembered something. I don't know if you got a chance to see the video of Dwight Howard saying the Warriors should pick him up.
I didn't see
But
that.
he said he would be a really good mentor for Wiseman and those guys, the big guys in Golden State. Do you think he would be a good fit, or do you think his time is over?
He wants that Haslam role, I guess.
Yeah, I know.
He wants a ring too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think it could be decent. In my opinion, like the Warriors right now, really good team, but like defensively, they're just out of sorts. Like, and it doesn't look like the Warriors. Like, their dynasty was built on defensive efficiency, and then obviously their offense is crazy. But so I don't know. I mean, I feel like Dwight Howard's time is kind of past. Like, I don't know that he would really help them. I don't think that like the Warriors' problem is having young big guys. Like, it's like they have the mentoring they need. They got Clay and they got Steph. Like,
Draymond,
I would think those guys are, and Draymond, like Draymond's mentorship is
A little questionable now, but
throwing hands, but no, I think like they have enough veterans on the squad. It's not like I don't think I feel like Dwight Howard's just trying to work his way onto to a good team
a
in that
championship winning
regard.
team. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that.
Yeah, so I don't think it would help the Warriors out
Mm.
in reality. So
All right, and then last thing, who is your MVP so far? I stick by my prediction before the season started. I said this is the year that Luca wins it.
darn it.
You think Luca? I mean, if you
Yeah,
say it,
that's my
that makes
MVP
me
pick.
happy.
Yeah,
Let's
Luca's my
do it.
MVP
Yeah,
pick,
yeah, yeah.
and since the beginning of the year, he's been my MVP pick. He's got to win it, and so far he's looked like it. Every time
Okay.
I watch Luca, he's like the most in control guy on the floor. I feel like he can always drop 40. He does everything. He makes it look easy. Um, you know, I feel like he wins MVP. Um, John Morant's been playing really well. I think he's a guy that'll be up there. But if Luca can lead the Mavs to like a top 5 seed and still like put up the stats he's putting up, like I don't see why he wouldn't win MVP this year. So
Gotcha.
I think it's him.
I like it. I like it. Very reassuring for me. And then yeah, so that's it for the NBA. I know the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba is coming up for the PGA, and I'm pretty sure Victor Hovland won last time. But I just want to give my predictions for this. I think, obviously, I really like some like individual golfers. Colin Morikawa is one of my favorites. He's from very close to home. Scotty Scheffler's a big guy. I like Tony Finau a lot. I don't see other big names that I would like to see, like McIlroy or Sam Burns that I really like up there. But my prediction is Scheffler and Finau play very, very well, and I want to say I I want to say Finau scratches out a dub or at least a top 5 placement. He played very well at the Open, but just wasn't good enough. So I think after a while he gives him some time. But yeah, so I have Finau winning that, and yeah, so I want to thank Noah for coming out. We're gonna have a video one day with Noah and Nathan. Hopefully, we can do that in person when I, order some stuff if it's the move. But yeah, I appreciate it. I have my prize pick link in the bio, my socials. I have Noah's socials with it down there, and yeah, follow the TikTok if you guys want to see my daily plays and stuff for big games. But yeah, I appreciate it, Noah. Any last words?
Yeah. No, thanks for having me on. It was great talking through everything. I love talking sports, so
Yes,
hopefully
sir.
we can get one with Nathan. We can do a little arguing
Yes,
for the
sir.
people. So
We're gonna do it again for sure. But
all right.
yeah, I appreciate you guys for watching.